I'm Verena Lasvigne, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this special edition of Spa and Wellness Talk by VLF Spa Consulting in honor of Global Wellness Day. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we try to understand what color does with us and the connection also that color has on our well-being. For those who have not heard yet of Global Wellness Day, it is a movement that was founded 10 years ago by Belgin Aksoy in Turkey and has gained a lot of followers ever since. It is an entirely non-profit movement and day dedicated to living well. The fundamental purpose of this day is to raise awareness of the value of our lives. And today it is celebrated in over 100 countries and multiple thousand locations, like every year on the second Saturday in June. So some know and some may wonder why I wear this pink t-shirt today. Well, that's a t-shirt in magenta, the color of Global Wellness Day, which I wear every year on this occasion. And when preparing for this spa and wellness talk, there was only one person who came to my mind who I wanted to have with me today. Not because she is necessarily very known in the spa and wellness industry yet, but because she is an expert when it comes to color. Dr. Ines Klemm. And Ines is the founder and CEO of Latrace, a Swiss-based planning and consulting company that works holistically in the fields of architecture, interior design, and strategy consulting. And Latrace's special expertise is actually on color energy. And additionally, Ines holds a PhD on color, energy, and well-being, the lessons of the Orient at the University of Edinburgh. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ines. Welcome back, Ines.
Hello, Verena. So the connection seemed to be lost.
Not a problem. It is such a pleasure to have you with us. And I just introduced you and really shared why I wanted to have you on this talk today with your expertise about color. And thank you so much for joining us live from Milan this morning, where you are for one of the most biggest furniture expositions. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Much, Verena. I'm delighted to be with you this morning and can actually present live from Milano on the latest spa and wellness, bathroom trends, and of course, as always, on color.
That's fantastic. And I mean, you and I, we met back in 2010 at the École Hôtelière de Lausanne, where you were a lecturer and I was a visiting lecturer in the spa program at the time for a few days. And already at the time, I was fascinated by your vision for design, architecture, and color. And when we were in touch recently, I just thought, since Global Wellness Day is all about magenta this year, I really wanted to know more about this color, but also in general, I wanted to share with our audience more about the impact on color and it can have on our guests and our spa facilities. So to start, Ines, I would love to know what fascinates you in color and its science in general.
Question which could fill days, but most of all, what fascinates me on color, that it impacts about 90% of all conscious and subconscious decisions that people take without knowing that this is the case. However, this has been proven by environmental scientists as well as neurologists lately, and it's a knowledge as ancient as humankind itself. Instinctively, we know everything about color, nothing. And this gap is absolutely necessary to be filled in, and that's why I'm very, very passionate about it and to fill it in with knowledge based on logic.
And I mean, you did your doctorate on the thesis, Color, Energy, and Well-being, the Lessons of the Orient. Which results were you able to see in the connection between color and well-being when you did this studies and research?
There were, of course, a lot of results, and it was a very thorough research in the field of the Oriental and also Western civilization and work and education on color. However, what fascinated me the most is that, and actually my thesis was called, almost until the day I handed it in, Something is Missing. Because when I went to spaces and worked with in retail as well as in interior design and architecture, or in the hundreds and hundreds of hotel visits I took, the line that came up first was, well, you know, there's something about eventually decided to call it like this to also find out what is missing. And what was missing is the color. So this is something that I really wanted to share with other people based on a very thorough research.
That's very impressive and very interesting. So we try to understand today a little bit about some colors, what impact they might have. And Global Wellness Day celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. And from day one, magenta has been the color of this movement. So additionally, this year, Global Wellness Day has chosen as its motto, Think Magenta. For the founder, Belging Aksoy, the color magenta was picked as it's the most striking of colors. No one can really miss it. It's noticeable even from the farthest distance. It gives you energy the moment you see it, changes your mood, and invites you to come and for you to come alive. And I mean, this is what Belging Aksoy thinks. And somehow me too. But since you're the color expert, Ines, you have the science behind it. What can you share with us about the color magenta and the science behind it?
I be asking the question, of course. It's a very, and magenta is a very, probably from Louis Barragan, who did amazing yellow, gold, and ultramarine blue, which related to magenta. But on the other side, is not a natural color. It's an occurrence that we have, which is when our eye sees simultaneously red and blue, mind produces the impression of magenta. However, magenta is of the natural visual spectrum of human beings. So it's often used in fashion to catch attention, as you said. That's and it's very yes, it's color. But if you're seeking for, let's say, natural connection, it is not the best color, because nature would give us shades of pink and rose, but the magenta is a production of our mind. So it says actually a lot about the immense need and craving for spa experience that we even want to relate to that color in every, because she is getting lost. More people are more and more stressed out of a lot of reasons.
So which impact does magenta eventually have on us?
Magenta has different kind of impact, and it's always the question, what are you looking for? So if you're looking for restoring the natural connection of human beings and their natural environment, then magenta is like you have it to your side, a sign to say, hey, look at that. But it is not the binding moment of that natural connection. As I said, it's catching the attention, and it makes people aware to stop. That is a good point to say, hey, please really take care of yourself. Please make sure that you get enough relaxing time, something good for yourself.
Excellent. And I can just imagine that we are all having many wrong perceptions of colors. What are the most common mistakes you have observed? Also, when it comes to hotels and spas, in the use of color, what are wrong assumptions that people have?
I love that question. Because, Germany, Switzerland, Europe, we find a lot of white. White is everything but neutral, and it also doesn't make things more spacious. I like to describe everything related to color with food, because people relate to food very good, as everyone must eat. So colors.
We're unfortunately breaking up.
White, it will be. Can you hear me?
Yes, sometimes it's interrupted.
It shows the connection is stable.
Now I can hear you.
Can be just repeat the last sentence. White
Yes,
is.
please.
There are a lot of misperceptions about white. So white is not neutral. And the colors of your spatial walls prepare a menu. And if these were white, then you would probably get the porcelain plate, but without the food. Because if you try to really white, really gray, or really black, as you find in many offices, this is what nature would feed us with. So space does either. And people think if they use white, they do nothing wrong. They do nothing right. And or more in
The connection has another interruption.
stay healthy. Can you hear me
Think we
again?
can hear you
Or
again. Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry about that. So
not a problem.
then that's probably one of the biggest misperceptions, that you start thinking of a space like of a plate with food, and that you have to find where you get the ingredients for your engagement from. To the southern country, Mexico, where you have a lot more color on the markets as well as in the streets and inside the homes. Naturally, instinctively, people paint the houses inside and outside in regular time intervals to think for the house as they think for themselves. So they might be in the poorer countries with less access to industry produced paint products and all the vigor of white. However, in a way, they are very healthy when it comes to color in their environment.
That's very interesting, and it's I love that white is not a neutral color actually, and that's a very interesting perspective, and as certainly based and backed up with science, as you know. And that was one of my questions, is since we have a lot of spa and wellness professionals in the audience today, do you have any tips how we should and could use color in staff rooms or back of house areas? What can we do to provide a good workspace design wise for our teams?
I think first you will about what you need to provide a good spatial surrounding as well, because you spend so much care and thought on spa menus, on the dressing, on you can put the ingredients into all the products that you actually use for the treatments. So if you just like in a mise en place, what kind you take, And if you were to give overall theme, whatever the color scheme of that mise en place is, that could be distributed onto the walls, because the walls of a space, they are like the skin of the body. So if you think you treat the walls of a space like you were to treat the skin of a body, then you can do the best without knowing all this theory, why the things work together, to a very large extent.
That is a very interesting approach. I love that. I really, so you would really take what you would put on the body in terms of treatments and the ingredients and would reflect that on the walls?
Yes, and I would go even a step further to engage your team. I would ask everyone to bring their favorite fruit or food item and a favorite thumbing and color, to put that in. So you have on the one thing the curated master concept of the spa therapist.
Mm-hmm.
You include your team and all the different matters to them. And they don't have to describe it, they don't have to argue it, and they don't have to defend it. But once you put it on the table and you take a picture and you imagine you're a chef who has to take the color scheme out of it, then you get kind of and then you can either find an arrangement, put it on the wall. The most important thing is you put it straight to the wall. You must not hang it in front of the wall, and you cannot just take a picture, because the wall of the space is, as I said, like the skin. So you have the spatial building and you have the physical building of the body, and they play the same way. So it's about space, the living space of the human body. This is like the closest space you have to yourself. The second closest space is the clothes you wear on your skin. And the third closest space, but almost more important than just the clothing, is the physical space, which is everything designed buildings. The strategy for survival is exactly the same in all three spaces: body, fashion, and architecture.
That's incredible. And actually, that was my next question. What about the clothes that we wear? Which impact could that have on us? And how important is the color of the uniforms for teams? Any guidelines there? Any thoughts? Any recommendations of how we approach this as spa professionals?
Absolutely, yes. And you seem to ask all my favorites, Verena. So thank you very much for that, because the clothing has a lot of impact in three ways. One is, of course, provides us immediate shelter and security, keeps us warm or cold. So it's like the skin between us and the external climate. Internal climate, external climate, that's close, climate regulation. The second reason is the what we look like. So tailored, how does it feel? Is it that is made to your body? So the fit is the second one. And the third one, of course, is the color. So it has been proven that technically the chemicals that are inside the fibers of your have a biochemical reaction with all the liquids and things. Like your skin, you can paint the skin more often than men, but you also have a particular skin color because it has a lot of your inner constitution. Whatever biochemicals are happening, what's the nature of your personal being or of your personality, that is represented in your skin. Your skin is the part where the internal side of you is ultimately connected to external environment. That's why it's so important, and that's why I think spa therapists are actually really good color experts already, because they look basically through the skin and then they treat on the surface of the human being. So with the clothing, I had in my hotel visits many interviews with staff. And I had one with people working in Mandarin Oriental, for example. And they said, it's such an amazing uniform we get. I want to spend the time to do my hair, feel amazing in it. Then I went to a design hotel, which was Tag Design Hotel in Frankfurt. And I had an appointment with a lady, and then she came and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't seen you. And she said, yes, this is what I hear all the time. But you know, when I arrived in this company, I went to pick up my uniform and they said, we won't tailor it for you because often people leave very quickly and we want it to fit someone else. So you can imagine on these very simple examples, the impact of uniform. And if you look at police, firemen, like where's a really functional to it, which is depending whether you survive or not, then this becomes a completely different question. For example, in surgery, the surgeons must not wear red because in surgery you always have to do with blood. So red always about circulation. So if they would wear red, circulation would mean the patient would lose more blood, which is of course not at all what it should be like. So the impact of color, even when it's not about survival, it is still about survival and cutting on your energy depot and resources without you knowing.
That's incredible. That's truly, truly incredible. But when you hear it and when you share it with me, I say, okay, that makes sense. But you would never think of that. That's really, thank you so much for sharing that, Ines.
Happily.
Now, what about colors and their influence on well-being based on the time of day? So, you know, for example, spas, they do have indirect ceiling lights with LED control that they can choose a different color, or they have treatment tables that have lights underneath and there is a color palette on a little remote control. What about that? Is there any thoughts, insights on how color in terms of the time of day has an impact?
Yes, I mean, there are a lot of research cases on that and a lot of light manufacturers, they seek very balance it. So eventually everything is about balance. We always seek balance. We just want to be one of us and the environment after all. So I would say people who care ask the question. Light designers have questioned the color of space. So mix and spatial design as well as from the choice of right light is important. Suitable for your aim and need of the team, you will not make ends meet eventually. So I would even go as far as to say, if you don't have the perfect light, but a light attuned to color scheme of space, you will have greater results. And that has been seen. For example, when installing or applying concept to dentist practices, you know, dent a favorite of people, they have fear of it. The dentist, and there were several that said that independently, they need 30% less because people feel more calm. So that means the dentist saves on anesthesia, saves money because a lot of people care about money, and that's fine. But most of all, the patients don't have to have these 30% inside their body, which go somewhere no one ever tracks really. And measure the impact. I would say it's more important to balance spatial scheme over overall concept and balance between clothing, spa therapy, ingredients, aim, brand, personality of the customers you want to have. And then you find the right match of what type of light and what type of colors in your space. And people often ask me the question, wouldn't it be okay if I can just attune the light in the different colors? Because now with the LED, it's super easy. Yes, you can do that, but that we know is an artificial source. So it is not on the same communication and like our human natural communication. So we ultimately know what's daylight and what's artificial light. So it can help, but it's also very misleading because a lot of light therapy is used without caring about the spatial ambience. So let's say whatever you fill up your batteries with light therapy, if you are in a white space, like many doctors' practices are, then you fill it up to, let's say, 70%, and you already have to battle against 30 to 50% of the harsh spatial environments, gain a little, very little, for what you invest in terms of money and material. So I like to look at it as an overall equation, and that's a completely different story than the close-up look.
I see that, yeah. So you are now in Milano for this big fair. What can you share with us? What did you see in regards to well-being that was insightful that you would like to share with our audience today, Ines?
Color is back. Full stop. Really good news. And you can see more than ever that the world of design is parted in two halves. One is the one in color. And you can see that color is about collaboration and synergy. These are the brands where a fashion brand collaborates with a design brand. And when they work together, and there are numerous examples as well, then you have like Dolce and Gabbana, they partner with design brands like SMAC, for example. And you see when you watch the people on the stand, those are the ones dressed in a lot of colors. And then you have the world of black and white. They label everything what you want to hear, but what they show is black and white. So it is not part of the rainbow because it is not part of our natural nutrition scheme. So you need to label it from the outside. And when you look at the people on those stands, they wear more black suits and black and white things. They have a completely different fashion appeal. Sadly, most of the kitchen appliances in the Euro Cucina special exhibition have the black and white scheme, which means spatial environment and kitchen design, we will not get the nourishment. That is a good news for spa therapy because people will need more spa therapy. So I would really encourage to make that obvious. And the partitioning, I think, is the most striking bit. And as I said, the good news is people want to live. They always wanted to live. There has always been the quest for as old as humankind. And this comes through, the natural color instinct comes through, which represents the natural need and craving for survival and getting nutrition.
All these connections, that's really, really insightful. And thank you so much, Ines, for taking the time this morning before running again on the show to speak with us and me this morning especially. Thank you really so much for having accepted my invitation to be my co-host today. And the science behind color is so fascinating. And I feel our industry has so many more opportunities to use color in a more meaningful way and use it intentionally. So really inspiring. Thank you so much, Ines.
Thank you very much, Verena. And I'm looking forward to see your industry reaching out to color, and to be very careful to note whether it's about a design approach to color or a holistic and scientifically sound approach to color. Just think about it like food. I think that takes you the right way.
That's a good point. I
Would
thank
you eat it?
Pardon me?
If you say, I would eat that,
Yes.
then it's right.
That's a perfect way to conclude. And I thank you, the audience, for watching the special edition of Spa and Wellness Talk in honor of Global Wellness Day. Spa and Wellness Talk will take a little summer break. We are back end of fall. Today's recording will be available as usual on our YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you again all for having taken the time to join us. I wish you all a happy Global Wellness Day celebration. And don't forget to say yes. All the best. Until soon. Bye-bye.